What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, alongside four-time Mr. Olympia, the gift, Phil Heath, up here in Miami, Florida. Man, how you been?
Very, very exhausted.
You've been all over the place.
Yeah, I just got back from Moscow as myself, along with a crew over at Gifted Nutrition. We had a huge guest posing that I was performing at, in addition to a huge distributor that we have, and just trying to get the crowd aware of Gifted Nutrition and what I've done as the ambassador of the sport. This weekend has just been crazy because not just with meeting you, but we'll be traveling lastly to Las Vegas as I'm sponsoring Todd Duffy in UFC 181.
Wow.
He's going to fight. So it's been a crazy year, man. It's been, I want to say, just over 270,000 miles flown for me this year. So yeah, a lot of time in the air.
That's a lot of time, and you guys know that flying is extremely stressful on the body.
Of course.
It's not just being in the same spot, but just the air pressure and all that stuff. Now, last time we met, you were obviously 3 weeks out for the Olympia, so we went over, how you diet. Now, you stay in shape year-round. You're not one of those guys who, remember Lee Priest back in the day with the KFC and the Krispy Kreme diet?
And the tubs of butter and this and that. Yeah.
He owned that shit. I don't know if he does that anymore. But, the thing is, you're in shape. You guest pose pretty much year-round. What is I'm sure everybody wants to know, what's your off-season diet like?
My off-season diet, really does consist of eating 5 to 6 times a day, usually around 6, because I do still get up early in the morning. Usually the same as a pre-contest diet, usually getting in roughly around 400 grams of protein, maybe 450, depending on if I'm actually home or not, because when you're traveling abroad, it's much, much more difficult to get those items in. I get to play around with the different protein sources more than I do in the prep. The whole goal behind the off-season is to figure out what doesn't work. See, a lot of guys, they'll say, "Hey, Phil, what do you do for pre-contest?" And I say, basically, I found out what didn't work in my off-season. So I work at it from more of a reverse engineering style, and realizing that, hey, maybe I can get away with eating more turkey breast this time around, and then realize, man, maybe that didn't work so good. Or maybe the different types of potatoes. I mean, you have white potato, red potato, sweet potato, yellow potato,
Yeah.
You have all these different types. You also have pasta, whole wheat pasta, rice pasta, all these different types of carbs, white rice, brown rice, cream of rice, cream of wheat, grits, oatmeal. Which combination is going to work for me? So typically, 2.5 cups of egg whites, oatmeal or grits. I really like grits in the morning. It's easy. It's pretty easy to go down, but also I've really noticed a lot of energy as far as like being in the gym. For some reason, I think maybe it's because I watched Ronnie Coleman do it, and he was just so adamant about it. But usually thereafter, every 2.5, 3 hours, it's usually about 10 ounces to 12 ounces of cooked whey protein, typically usually chicken breast or steak. In the off season, usually I can go up to 3 steak meals, whereas opposed to pre-contest, I'm usually doing 1 to 2. And in pre-contest, I'm doing more fish, whereas opposed to in off-season mode, there's none of that white fish going on.
What are your reasons for that?
I just hate the taste of it, man.
Okay.
I can't lie. I easily could administer more different types of protein sources throughout my off season, but here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have more fun, and realizing that I'm traveling so much that I may not have those protein sources readily available. And that's a huge thing when you're traveling to, I can travel to 20 different countries in 1 year.
Yeah.
All of which don't have the same type of food as I would have here in the States. Like I say, readily available to be able to say, look, I need cod or halibut or tilapia. In the States you can get that. When you're trying to travel to maybe another country, it may be a little scarce. Maybe it's out of season. So it may be very difficult. And the portion size, right? Maybe the portion size are different. And then you also know, traveling yourself, the cost of eating like that abroad is very, very difficult.
I spent like 10 G's in Australia trying to get enough food.
So, like when I lived there for a month in 2010, and I probably ate more fish there because it was readily available.
It was.
I was staying out in Bondi Beach. I'd go right there, grab barramundi, and have it on the grill. Boom, done.
Exactly.
It was awesome. Whereas in the States, I probably wouldn't do that. So, and with me, I live in Colorado. There's nothing but ranches out there, man. So I'm doing elk and buffalo, bison, all these different types of red meat. So the off season really consists of just various different types, finding out what works for that time period. I'm able to write down how I feel and how I also look during that off season pertaining to each meal. A lot of the bodybuilders can understand this. They look at themselves in the mirror probably 20, 30 times a day.
Yeah.
Especially when they're getting ready for a show. So what the bigger thing is like, how do you write that down? How do you feel? How do you look? And based off of that, you'll be able to figure out what your plan of action is going to pre-contest. One thing I also try to make sure I do in an off-season program, as far as diet is concerned, is to live normal. If that means that there's a family get-together, I don't always have to bring my food. I can have condiments on my food and stuff like that. I don't mind having sauces and creams and stuff like that. I'm trying to make this fun, but still keeping my protein very high. So therefore, I don't feel like I'm dieting.
So the main thing is you're getting your protein. Now for carbs, you have those different sources. Is there an amount you shoot for, or
usually at this point in time in my career, during the off season, I usually eyeball it. Usually a medium to large baked potato is always a good source. I can eyeball a cup of rice or a cup of grits or something like that. It's usually me eyeballing. Now if I'm at home, like for instance, I'll be home throughout most of December. I'll be able to weigh all my food. That's awesome. But when I'm traveling, it's very, very difficult. I mean, I would sit here, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm not going to weigh everything. It's impossible for me to do that. And I shouldn't say impossible, it's just not practical for me to do that after all these years of training and realizing that I'm not going to bring a food scale where I go with measuring cups. No. That's a little lame. I should by now understand that in my off season what is too many carbs and what is too little. You
really need to carry around a big cooler because you're not a real bodybuilder unless you have a big cooler.
That's just ridiculous.
And a water jug. Where's your gallon jug?
Well, I think I'm just different. I definitely could. I'm no different than the average guy in regards to being consistent yet inconsistent. Consistent with the training and the diet, but yet inconsistent with the water intake. I should probably carry more water with me constantly, but I do have it readily available. Usually every hour I'm usually drinking, 16 ounces, something like that. And with me being here in Miami, Florida, you definitely have to do it. In addition to where I live in Colorado, it's very, very dry. So whether it be warm or cold, with that altitude, your skin, your cells, they all need it. So you definitely have to stay hydrated. And that's going to enable your body to actually absorb those fat-soluble vitamins in addition to all of your supplements. And that's something that's very, very important, because of the hydration factor going into an off-season prep, because a lot of people fail to realize if you're not getting enough water throughout the day, not just when you're training, you're slamming on this water, you need to get a constant flow throughout to help absorb all the nutrients so you can purge everything as well and keep the body moving. Your digestion is going to be key, so then you can eat more and you can be less irritable, you can have better metabolism, and you can overall make those supplements work.
Yeah, now do you fat intake, do you measure that? Do you purposely add fat in?
I will purposely add fat more in my pre-contest than off-season. Off-season, if I'm going to add fat, it's probably going to be a dessert or something like that. That's where I allow myself to have a little bit of fun. I don't really get the opportunity as of late. I kind of have a little bit of a nut allergy, like an almond nut allergy, so I can't really, I just tested for this not too long ago, going into Olympia prep. So I can't really take that in for right now until that clears. But, as far as like cooking with different type of rapeseed oil or olive oil, I do that. I would rather get more fats from like the red meat and salmon that I would probably ingest. But as far as like, adding in like a cod liver oil or fish oil or borage oil to my meals, I really don't do that at all.
Now, pre and post workout supplementation. I know that when you were prepping, you're like, okay, I need to have my gifted shake right now.
Right.
I mean, is there anything specific you do in the off season? I know you travel a lot. Is that something you keep consistent?
Absolutely.
That period.
The cool thing about carrying the protein is that it's something that I can always have available when I'm traveling, and it's always very, very important, right? You can always cycle on creatine, you can always do stuff like that, which we do carry. But I usually carry with me my branched chain aminos, my IsoWhey, and I also put in colostrum. Now that's something that is going to, I believe, I don't want to say revolutionize the industry because everybody says that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that I think a lot of people are going to see more research on that has enabled the human body to absorb or enhance more IGF and more, all those growth factors within it. It's pretty much a superfood that you can apply to your regular protein shake.
Great for gut health, digestion.
Absolutely.
And in the 2000s, that's when I first started looking into it. So in the early 2000s. So.
And I definitely think that it's going to come back, especially with our brand being so new. And that was something I actually did take during the prep. And then now traveling off-season, if you will, I add that in with every shake. It's just 2 scoops. It comes out, a few grams of protein, but it's the superfood, right? And I will admit, like my strength and my appearance, a lot of people were seeing me guest pose and they're like, hey, Phil's actually keeping it pretty tight, during these guest appearances. We know that he's not eating enough. We know he's barely training and he's not getting any rest. How is he able to do it? Well, obviously, I'm not gonna lie, genetics help play a huge role. Having the momentum from the Olympia, not eating like a slob, but also I will say getting in the right amount of protein. I actually cut my protein back after a competition like the Olympia, just to give my body a nice healthy rest.
Yeah.
And to try to do a nice cleanse. So I try to utilize the colostrum more because of that, because I want to get that superfood inside and then help, the body repair.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, taking this away, so pre and post, like your post workout, you always have, like, how many grams? Like, if someone was to say, what should I have intake-wise, carbohydrate and protein, pre and post workout? Because we get that a lot.
Yeah, for myself, let's just say, even when I was 225 pounds, I was still doing 60 grams. I get up to 280 pounds, so off-season. So right now I'm at 260. I'll start that process the first half of next year, the first quarter. I usually aim for 60 to 75 grams. I think over 75, I don't really think you need more than that. You're probably not that big or have that much muscle. I think some people should probably start off at 50, to be honest, and realize that even with serving sizes of, let's say you're a 200-pound bodybuilder, you should probably get in 50 grams of protein, maybe no more than 60 per meal. And then as you start getting bigger, then maybe add in another meal. Maybe instead of having 6 meals, you have 7, 8, 9. Who knows? If your metabolism is just that fast and you're not looking fat, then have more. But I do think that at times it'd be more advantageous to do like 50 to 75 grams. So usually that's like 2 to 3 scoops of your regular whey protein. And ours is 30. So I would say 2 scoops would be 60. And you're getting 17 grams of branched chain amino, so you're getting that covered.
Exactly.
But then I also want to add in the fact that branched chain aminos is huge. That's something that I actually take in between meals, especially when I'm at home. That's something that, if I'm in my hotel room and I'm drinking this bland water, because water.
Might as well flavor it.
Might as well flavor it, right?
Yeah.
So we were able to do that with our flavoring system being the way it is. And then it doesn't taste sugary, but it doesn't taste bland. And that's something that's going to help, keep that protein synthesis very, very strong. And that's something that while I'm traveling, I have to have. Because let's face it, being Mr. Olympia, you're always going to be photographed in poor lighting and great lighting. Usually it's going to be poor lighting because you didn't choose the magic lighting. And I'm one of those guys that, the people see it. They don't see gym photos of me ever.
The bathroom back there has fantastic lighting.
You'll never see that. I think the last photo I actually showed in the gym like that was my 2008 Ironman photos when people were like, what the heck's going on with this guy? It's just not me. Maybe I'll do it one day. Who knows? Maybe if we get a lot of great interaction on this video, maybe I'll do it for going into next year's Olympia.
That'd be fantastic.
But I do think that having those supplements on hand force more repair on my body. That is huge for me. Making sure that I'm always staying hydrated, especially when I'm taking the creatine. I'm usually front loading that, so I'm taking 10 grams in the morning. Especially, I'm going to start that up probably January 1st.
Okay.
Letting my body cleanse and all that stuff. But then come January 1st, off-season mode. Right when I wake up, I'll be doing, normally I would have the colostrum, branched chain aminos, and a scoop or two of creatine, and then I'll do that same regimen before and after I train. And obviously eat in between. Well, that pretty much. So, any tips, pointers for off-season dieting you have for people? Obviously, one is
don't be overly anal because it's off season.
I don't think so. I agree with you. I think you guys, if you guys notice or haven't so far, I mean, Marc's awesome. But what makes it cool is that he makes it look easy, right? And that's what I really try to do for you guys, is to let you know that some people may say, Phil was cocky or arrogant, because I kind of just have a laid back attitude toward things.
Yeah.
And it's because I've had repetition and I've had consistency. I don't believe in perfect practice, because you can practice very bad habits, right?
Yeah.
You have perfect practice. Now you start having everything come to you. So like anyone that was playing, like for me, go back to talking about playing basketball, my coach would always say, don't force the game, let the game come to you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that in bodybuilding. You kind of have to get this repetition of doing things a certain way, and then it just happens, right? You actually know what 10 ounces of chicken or fish or steak looks
exactly.
like. You kind of get the idea.
If you're within 10%, I always tell people, you're pretty good.
Yeah,
the body's not the same.
You don't have to freak out.
The body changes daily.
Yeah, you don't have to freak out about that. That's what pre-contest is for.
Yeah, that's when you freak.
That's when you can do it, because what is the most important muscle? Mind. Getting ready for the show. So if you've overworked yourself in this off season to where now you're just exhausted, and you see most of these guys die out 3 weeks out. You saw me 3 weeks out.
You were chilling.
I was like, hey man, this is what I do. My mental stability is pretty high, even through adversity, and I love it because it reminds me of the inner strength. Mm-hmm. But with taking supplements, with eating right and all this stuff, you're supposed to feel good. So the tip is to control your attitude. Happiness is a choice. You make sure that you do have a level of organization. If you have no groceries in your refrigerator, then there is a problem. You either need to get another job or figure out something.
Find a new hobby that doesn't require food. Bodybuilding is extremely dependent on food. If you have trouble paying your bills to afford the food to bodybuild, it's when you probably should refocus your commitments on your job. I mean, that's something we went into in the last video. So you need to kind of prioritize what's important. Bodybuilding is cool and all, staying in shape, but obviously you can't afford the food to bulk. Maybe bulking isn't for you.
And what people have to keep in mind is that when I first started competing, I was in college. And I was on half the scholarship because I was during my 5th year of education. Mm-hmm. So I still had to go out and get a job. Actually, I had 2 jobs to be able to supplement that income to go pay for a hobby, right? If you want it bad enough, you will do it. And that's just being honest. Like, you don't have to cut corners. You don't have to do these weird things to go get paid. What you have to do is prioritize, and maybe it isn't the day that you go buy the big mass gainer. I remember still buying the tuna fish and the ground beef and this, that, and the other. And then as I started getting better at my work, I was able to acquire the filet mignon and this and that. You got to start somewhere, but at least you're getting your protein up. And there's cheap ways to get your protein through the tuna, through the egg whites and stuff like that. All those kids in college, take advantage of that cafeteria. Even for you guys that got a few girls out there that maybe want to give you some of their cards, go take care of that. I think that would be huge. You definitely become very, very resourceful when you're under 25.
Yeah, and if you got game, you get the girls' cards.
Wow.
Yeah, you gotta have game. That's the thing, is that the next video should be game to get girls to pay for your meals.
Game because it's not a game. But overall,
different kind of game.
Right. But overall, I mean, you have to remind yourself that organization is key, but understanding that if you also miss a meal, just don't miss the next one. Don't really flip out. And understand this, when you're doing off season, try to take a mental note as to how you feel and how you look. The hard part is that how you look is that guys are like, I'm bulking. I see these Instagrams, I see the Twitters, I see the Facebooks and stuff. The selfies. The selfies of a clean bulk. I don't see cardiovascular being applied in the off season because everybody's very focused on what's on that scale. And then I have to say it. You have the nerve to go post these selfies. Now, I understand if you're going through like some type of transformation and it's the first time you've ever done it and you have to put these pictures out to motivate yourself. But let's be real here. I see some of these foods too. You don't see me posting pictures of like a bunch of donuts and all this other stuff. have them pin pictures of me with a sack of donuts. There was one, but we already discussed it. I think. I mean, overall,
the one donut.
Yeah,
we all have one donut pick slip every once in a while.
But I think what people have to realize is that no matter how good your genetics are or whatever you're taking or whatever it is that makes you feel that you can eat bad, it's actually going against you. It's actually going against you both physically and mentally getting ready for the big show. It's allowing you to have a false sense of security when you do go from off-season to pre-contest. So I'm not saying to be narcissistic and say, well, I have to eat clean all the time. Learn to have balance, and that takes wisdom, and that takes over time. That takes a person that can actually breathe and actually. I mean, how many times we do that, and that's a whole other topic. But it's something that I've applied in my life, and I think people have seen me smile more as I get ready for a show than anybody else because I know what I'm doing. I'm having fun, and I'm in full control of the food, the training, the subs, everything, because I've positioned myself in the off season. Practice in that off season in any other sport, very intense, very hard and sharp. So then in the game, it's automatic. That's what I try to apply in bodybuilding, and it's going to happen with a lot of you guys because I do feel you guys are very excited. You're very, very pumped. You have all the resources in the world with all these videos that we're putting out. Apply this knowledge. Give a shit about success every single day, and that's it.
Yeah, so basically, thanks for watching again. Like, subscribe. Obviously, we'll have a link down below for all your social media.
Absolutely.
Take a look. We'll annotate it in the video, man. Thanks a lot for this off-season. It's something you can't be on season all the time, or you're never going to make gains.
You'll stress the hell out.
And you got to make gains. At the end of the day, you're not going to make gains in contest prep.
You're definitely right.
You're not going to make gains.
You're definitely right, and you definitely have to understand that. Go get a physical. Learn how to check on your body. Learn how to check on your body to understand how it works. Be a student of yourself, and learn also to give yourself time to relax. Your mind is going to enable you to stay ready. And all great athletes find other hobbies within their hobby. Now I'm giving you guys a secret, right? Michael Jordan would play up to 36 rounds of golf while he's doing the Dream Team tour. That's crazy. But it enabled him to focus on something else that was low impact on his body, but yet strengthen his mind.
Exactly.
So that he could be refreshed going into an event. Maybe it's going for a drive. Maybe it's walking your dog. Maybe it's going out with your spouse to an event or something like that. I don't know. Learn to have the hobby within the hobby to get fueled. So then you're not dragging your ass in the gym.
Even at a high level, bodybuilding should enhance your life, not take it over.
No, it's not. And you know what? A lot of us, including myself, have had that happen.
It's happened to me.
And, with family, I mean, you'll screw up your whole family off of sport.
Oh, absolutely.
And, shit, it happens to me. It happens to a lot of people. A lot of people get pushed aside and this and that because you want it so bad. But what you have to do sometimes is downshift, refocus, do something that makes you laugh, make something that you have some different type of feeling within that hobby. And then you can come back and be like, I gotta get back in the gym. And now you're like, I'll be 35 this month, and I'm thinking, I gotta do something that's fun, so then I can think, okay, I did all this, but I gotta get my ass back in the gym.
That's why I took up Muay Thai. I suck, but it's something that's athletic. And it brings me back to being an athlete. I mean, both of us were, performance athletes at one time. Bodybuilding's not a performance athletic sport. But there's nothing wrong with bodybuilders. You see Phil, he's the best in the world, and he walks normal. You see these guys who are about half your size who walk like they have a stick up their ass? There's no reason to walk like that.
Or they're
ILS.
The ILS. I say that they look like they're holding luggage.
He's like, and they have no mobility, and they're sweating, and they can't walk upstairs. There's no reason to be like that.
Well, we just were, and you guys will be able to see this in the video, is that I was able to go through the neuromuscular massage. And understanding that a lot of our posture is flawed because of bodybuilding. You want to look so big that you're failing to realize that that's just for the stage. You don't have to posture on another man to try to make him feel inferior in the gym. And for me, if anyone sees me in the gym, they'll be like, oh yeah, Phil's pretty big and this and that. But I got street clothes on. I'm going to posture on you when it's all said and done, close her off. And that's what matters as far as competitors are concerned. But to wrap this up, really, I'm really excited to be with this guy. He actually traveled all the way down to Miami, home of Gifted Nutrition, actually. And we're going to go do some chats here pretty soon.
I think so. It's about that time. So again, guys, thanks for watching. Again, like all his stuff, or else we will find you, we will kill you. And being murdered by the gift in the machine. It's not a game.